money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
We roll on with JVT. It's our old friend, the Meat Man, Steve Wyss, now, our weekly visit to talk soccer. Nordic podcast, Because We Win pod at Meat Man Soccer on X. He joins us on the Progressive guest line. I hope you had a good Super Bowl, my friend. Good to talk to you. How are things?
Hello, Pauly, and good to be on the show with JVT here. I enjoyed the result in terms of, I'm not a great fan of the Chiefs either. Didn't have a great betting day on the Super Bowl, unfortunately, for me. I lost on the field goals market and stuff. So, this is a reminder for me to stick to the soccer.
Butker got a lot of people. That's hilarious. And I was shocked that Jeff Sherman at the Westgate said their biggest win was Butker over 1.5 made field goals and significant movement in that one. Let's go Saturday, the Prem, Asian handicap. How about Aston Villa to put it on Ipswich Town?
Yeah, minus 1.25 on the Asian handicap for Aston Villa. Basically, I think Villa are going to win quite convincingly against an Ipswich team who have, they've struggled badly. They've lost 9 of the last 12 games in the Premier League. 8 of their 14 losses have been by a 2-goal margin or more. And that's crucial when you're taking handicaps is, teams can get beat, but how big are they getting beat? And when Ipswich lose, it tends to be by quite a lot of goals. They had a really bad run at the start of the new year. Manchester City beat them 6-0 at home. Liverpool put a big score past them as well. They did win in the cup last week, but I'm not counting cups. This is the Premier League. This is big boy soccer. And Aston Villa, I think they've got a bit more confidence again. They've progressed through to the Champions League. Only one home defeat all season, which was against Arsenal. They've had a few too many draws, but usually it's against decent enough teams. They've got to be beating Ipswich at the bare minimum. And if that happens, then you will not lose your full stake here. You'd only lose half your stake if it was a 1-goal win. But I think there's night and day between the teams. Villa are far better. Ipswich probably will go down. And I think something like 2-0, 3-0 to Villa here. So the handicap makes sense.
What about Man City and Newcastle? Man City last EPL game, I think they got blasted by Arsenal, right? So what do we do here?
I think we've got to keep opposing Manchester City. I did it in midweek in the Champions League against Real Madrid. And City led that game 2-1 for a long time before, again, collapsed defensively. Some of the goals they're conceding, it's you never ever would have believed you would see a Manchester City side defend so poorly. Their legs seem to have gone with some players. They've lost pace, intensity. Without the ball, they're one of the worst teams in the Premier League, I think now, of the decent teams anyway. So Newcastle draw double chance. It's close to even money, minus 105, basically not to lose the game. The historical stats do not support this bet. So if you like history, then you don't follow this one. Newcastle have lost on their last 9 visits to this stadium. They haven't scored a goal here since 2018. But we have to really appreciate how the field has changed with Manchester City. Suddenly they've become really poor from what they were. So we've got to go with recent form. Newcastle lost 2 of the last 14 games. Won their last 6 away in all competitions, including at Arsenal. They seem a different version. They've got powerful attacking weapons like Anthony Gordon and Alexander Isak can cause City all sorts of problems. I wouldn't honestly be surprised if Newcastle won the game. But let's just play it safe and go with draw double chance. Manchester City, very, very opposable.
Very good, my friend. Things have been quiet, and we're supposed to get the ruling this month. We know we have all these bets on Man City to be relegated, to finish outside the top 10, to finish outside the top 5, all these other teams to finish ahead of them. What are you hearing with the ruling, with the points reduction? And you said something interesting about the history of this. If you appeal, what happens?
Well, to answer your question, I've not been hearing much recently. It's almost like the quiet before the storm, if you know what I mean. It wouldn't honestly surprise me if something came up very, very soon and happened very, very quickly. I said at the start of the season, if they do get a deduction, it's probably going to be significant, 30 points or more. Then when that comes out, there's always an option to appeal. The thing is, sometimes if you appeal, the punishment could end up worse. It doesn't happen very often, but that would be a risk as well. I just think whatever happens, whenever the verdict comes out, I hope it gets done very, very quickly. And this season, we don't want it lingering as bettors.
Yes.
It's pretty unfair. It's unfair from a sporting angle. It's unfair from a betting angle. But hopefully, we heard at the start of the season, it might happen in February. Before the end of this month, I'd like to see some development on that front. Let's hope.
All right, yes, for bettors, for fans, for Premier League, I think it needs to be in there. Here it is. Really? This is the penalty. You accept it. We move on, and that's the end of it. That's what it should be. How about Bournemouth against Southampton?
It's a bit similar to the Aston Villa Ipswich game. I've got to go with the favourite on the -1 Asian handicap here. So full push, full refund if they win by 1 goal margin. There is a massive golfing class between the two teams. It's as simple as that. And in fact, I'm actually thinking about laddering this one to -2 and even -2.5 Asian handicap here, because I think Bournemouth could put a big beating on Southampton. Southampton are terrible. They have lost 19 out of 24 matches. It's absurd. It's so bad. They could be one of the worst Premier League teams ever. They did win last time out against Ipswich. That doesn't mean that much to me. Ipswich, like I said before, are very, very poor. And again, Southampton are a team, when they lose, they tend to lose quite big. 10 times they've lost by two goals or more this season. So, yeah, the sort of team, when the slippery slope slides on the day, they start falling behind, they just lose their heads, give up. And Bournemouth are in great form. They were unbeaten in 11 straight Premier League games before they lost to Liverpool in their most recent match. We'll let them off that. Liverpool are a very good team. And they just rack up a lot of goals. Justin Kluivert, one of the top players recently, the son of a famous striker back in the day, Patrick Kluivert, he's been brilliant, scoring goals from everywhere. I know there was a slight doubt about his participation this weekend because his wife just gone into labour, I do believe. So he's gonna, he's gonna be a new dad. That can work actually the other way though sometimes, and he's going to be really motivated if he gets on the field this weekend and may well score a goal. Watch out, maybe a card as well if he takes his shirt off with a message for his new.
Okay.
So just a little angle there. Watch out for him. If he plays, I think he's going to be really fired up. Maybe a little bit tired as well, but be bang up for it.
All right, let's go to Sunday.
I like it.
Paul and I were sitting in here. We just watched that tough draw for Liverpool against Everton, and they have the Wolves coming up on Sunday. What do we do here?
I really like the idea of opposing Liverpool at the minute, guys, because I think they're just in a stretch where the nerves are getting to them somewhat. They're 7 points clear at the top of the table. Everyone's expecting them to win the league. They've just been hit hard by that sucker punch late goal, last gasp goal against Everton there. And I'll be honest, I quite like opposing both teams this week. I nearly had Crystal Palace as a pick as well on the money line. Both sides are giving it everything. Anyone who watched that game, like, they've left nothing out there. Yeah. So what's left in the tank, emotionally, physically, and now they're a 2-goal favourite against Wolves who are fighting for their lives. I think Liverpool just happily will get on with the job here and get the win by 1-goal win or something. But +2 Asian handicap on Wolves is too big. Liverpool only won two times in the last 12 by more than a 2-goal margin. One of those was Ipswich. One of those was Accrington Stanley from Division 4. So I think Wolves can keep it close. +2 Asian handicap. They are fighting for their lives, guys, and might get Liverpool a good time.
Well, the money, Pauly and JVT, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Steve Wyss, our guests at Meatman Soccer on X. Because we win pod, he's on the progressive guest line. Let's go to the Championship League, the league below the Premier League. You have a great angle here. Middlesbrough minus a goal against Watford. They're turmoil.
Watford are awful. They've lost 7 of their last 10 matches, and I know a Watford fan, and he's very, very worried for the manager, Tom Cleverley. I think he's probably lost the dressing room. It's only a matter of time before he gets fired. I think they're waiting until they're through a bad run of results, a bad run of fixtures. My own team, Leeds United, played Watford in midweek, beat them 4-0. Most of the goals were a gift, and after 1-0 down, they gave up. So I'm really worried about the players. They've got to go away from home, a long travel up to Middlesbrough here. And I think Middlesbrough would be probably -1.25, -1.5 goals if Borough themselves were in good form. They've only won 2 of the last 10. A lot more was expected of Middlesbrough this season. I know a lot of people have got tickets on them to finish in the playoffs, to even win the league on an each way. And basically the squad's far better than what their league position suggests. So I think they're going to come good at some stage. The manager's decent, Michael Carrick. This is a perfect game to rebound. If you're in bad form, you want Watford at home because they are just look like getting beat by everyone. So as long as they win the game, Middlesbrough, we're not going to lose anything. Plus money on the -1 Asian handicap. Despite Middlesbrough's poor recent run of results, if they wouldn't easily here, I'm not at all surprised because Watford are a massive, massive fade at the moment.
Good job, my friend. Great to talk to you. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
Same to you guys. Absolute pleasure. Take care.
It was a pleasure. The meat man. Nigel loves Palace Everton under 2.5, by the way. That's up at vsin.com. So let's get a ruling this month. No appeal. And
they withdraw points on the table?
They're looking at maybe a 20, 30, or 40-point reduction.
Wow. So they go down to 11. They're right there.
Way down. You'd be at the bottom.
Was it Bournemouth at the bottom?
You'd be
9 points or something like that.
What are they at right now?
Let's see. I just pulled it up. I think bottom of the table is 9 points.
What does Man City have?
41.
What if they get 30 points taken off?
You're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yep. Right? And that's why one of the biggest bets before the season was relegation.
Yeah, they're at 41, so they get 30 withdrawn. They would be in 19.
All right. Nigel's got a great source, and the source is telling him 40 points. And then it comes down. That's wild because remember you see this all the time in the NFL where you appeal and usually it goes your way. They'll knock. Hey, you got 6 games. Hey, we'll knock it down a game or 2, or MLB, right? And he's saying in the past that they would say, okay, you're going to waste our time. We're going to tax stuff. It's going to be worse now.
Yeah.
All right. I'm looking forward to this coming up. Do you concur? Up next. This is a very difficult move, and I believe Von Tobel has done this before. Do you concur? Coming up next on VSiN. Follow the money, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Great moments in history have begun with a question.
To be or not to be, that is the question.
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
And what kind of hair product does Mitch Moss use? But Follow the Money wants to know.
Do you concur? Concur with what, sir? Do you concur?
All right, looking forward to this. Number 1. The Eagles will end the drought, the 25-year drought, and repeat as NFC East champs. Do you concur?
Absolutely. This team's loaded for bear. They're great. The defense is young. Jalen Hurts is really starting to come into his own. Last 2 games looked like a guy who really, to use his term, took the straitjacket off, opened it up, let the kid play.
Love that.
Looked absolutely great over the last 2 games. I don't believe in the division. I think you take a step back there in Washington as well. I think he's a little fool's gold. Now with a tougher schedule, watch out. Eagles repeat NFC East champs. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of Washington?
I think they're going to be fine. We see this all the time. Pauly, you know who the co-favorite was for MVP before the season started was C.J. Stroud. And now we're asking whether or not he's better than Bryce Young. So fair. I think, you got to pump the brakes on greatest quarterback we've ever seen. These guys take step backs all the time. And so now you look at that. If that happens, Dallas Cowboys, maybe they'll be competitive too with Dak back, but this team is clearly the best team in the NFC East.
What is Dak talking about? We're close.
I don't know.
What?
I mean, I guess you could make the argument they had won the 12, 12 straight, or the 12 wins 3 straight years before last year. I don't know, though, man. You look at their team in comparison.
Want a couple in the playoffs.
Sure, of course. That's what I mean, though. Like, you look at their team in comparison with Philly, just how great they've done in terms of the draft, the acquisitions, everything.
Right.
Every position.
Howie Roseman or Jerry Jones? Come on.
Exactly.
Kelsey and Rodgers should both retire. Do you concur?
So I got to do both, huh?
No, equal. Take them both.
I mean, I think Rodgers should probably. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to say they shouldn't retire. I think that for Rodgers, I should be fair. I don't like the guy. Statistically, he had a pretty solid year. It wasn't as bad for his numbers.
He closed well.
Yes, as the record and the narrative around it would indicate. So I should probably be fair there. For Kelsey, I think it's a little bit harder. He hasn't looked good, man.
No.
You see some of the film breakdown when you're talking about his inability to cut, the fact that he's missing guys. He's supposed to chip on dudes and he's barely touching them, how slow he is. There's a great, and again, still shots aren't fair. There's a great breakdown film-wise of the Super Bowl where you see all of his offensive linemen already firing out of their stance and his hand's still on the ground. Like, there's just so many little things you look where you see the game is really dipped. I mean, you're really just going to say he'll turn it on again in the postseason. He didn't this time. Why with another year he's going to do it again?
Was the Houston game a fluke? That's the only game he did something.
It seemed to be that Houston's whole thing was like, we're going to take everything else away. Let's just see if Kelsey's going to beat us.
Yeah, like Mahomes said.
Because they were great.
Yep.
I mean, think about it. He had a great game. Chiefs averaged 4.2 yards per play.
Fair enough.
That seemed very, very constructive.
Cam Ward will not go number 1. Do you concur?
I'm going to say, yeah, I concur. You can't sit out the historic second half of the Pop-Tart Bowl, right? With all of the history and tradition and pomp and circumstance. No.
How about how many people were bothered by that?
Dude, come
Like
on.
what he played. That was the plan.
There's a Pop-Tart strip teasing in the corner, and they're acting like it's like the college football playoff that he's sitting out of. It's ridiculous.
I know.
No, I think look, I know that there was the report that there was who was it that talked to a couple people. I think you brought it up yesterday that said Shador wasn't even like a first-round quarterback. I like Shador. I think he's fine. I think this quarterback class is weak enough that you're looking at guys like Carter to go first overall potentially. Trading out of that first overall pick if you're a team like Tennessee and going to get somebody else, and one of those guys is going to slide to you. I don't think there's that big of a difference, so I would concur. He's not going to be the first pick.
Okay. Walking out of a movie is a very difficult move. Do you concur?
Yes, I concur, especially with prices nowadays.
Yeah.
Those are expensive. And you're going to walk out after buying that. I assume you're getting snacks.
I'm already in. That's what, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
in. I got the snacks. I mean, Derek Stevens just gets the popcorn and leaves.
That's a strong move.
You've done that?
Yes, that is a Von Tobel thing. Yes, we'll do that all the time.
I did not know that it was that popular till he said it on the show.
Yeah,
he just goes and gets the popcorn.
Yep, and leave.
Yeah.
Because you ain't popping that popcorn at home. Microwave popcorn's not
Great
that
popcorn.
good.
Yeah.
Yes, you get the big bucket
Damn
and you
right.
walk out.
Damn
now,
right.
the real sneaky move is then you bring the bucket back, get the refill.
Okay. Have
They
you
mark it on the bottom.
Have you walked out of a movie?
I haven't for a while, but I did. The Eric Bana Hulk movie was pretty bad all those years ago. Did walk out of that. Haven't walked out of one since, I don't think, though. Outside of, like, some issues, like family issues, whatever,
Yeah, right,
things
right,
like.
right.
But in terms of, like, this movie is so bad that I'm going to eat the $20 that I have spent. No, like, I watched Nosferatu a couple of weeks ago. I wanted to walk out. I fell asleep in it, but no, I'm going to eat it.
That's another one. That's I would have walked out of Joker 2 if I went in the theater. I would have walked out. I mean,
My wife watched that.
I've never hit the fast forward so fast on a movie.
Oh, so you watched it at home too?
Yeah, I ordered it. It's just worse than what people said, and it was low
You just don't understand, Paul. You just don't understand. You don't get the art behind it, Paul.
Have you walked out of a concert? That's
No.
a tough move too.
That's hard because that's even more expensive, depending on what you're going to go see. I've seen some bad concerts, though. Especially when the singer's coming out half-cocked. You have no idea. The singing's awful. The voice is terrible because they've been doing blow and all sorts of stuff. Haven't been taking care of themselves. I haven't walked out of a concert, though. Yeah, no.
Really? Okay.
Because I'm. It's not that I'm cheap, but it's like you spent the money.
I went. I was in junior high, and I don't know what happened, but I went with my dad, the Motley Crue.
Okay.
And they come out there, and it's like 4 songs in.
Vince Neil?
Vince Neil,
Yeah.
the lunatic Vince Neil who lives out here. He starts, hey, he's getting it's just this regular talk at the time. Hey, you mothers, how you doing? We're Motley Crue, whatever. And my dad gets up. He goes, he will not talk to me like that. He is not going to call me the F word, and he made me leave.
Really?
Yeah, I was crying. I was like, I don't know, what grade was this? 4th grade. It was the Dr. Feelgood tour. And I'm like, I can't believe this. I was looking for, and he's made me leave.
Oh, that's
he goes, you're not going to call me a mother effer? I'm like, oh my God. I'm trying to explain to my mom. My dad's like, I'm like, he's not talking to you. He's just like, he's a rock star. He's saying, hey, you guys, thanks for coming out. We're Motley.
So 2 things on that. First off, one very masculine story that our audience will totally relate to. To that point of parents pulling you out of stuff. When I was like 7, the first Pokemon movie came out. My mom, for my birthday, she took me to go watch it. She took me out of the theater at the climax because I had to go get shots at the doctor's office. It was the worst experience I've ever had at the climax of the movie.
No.
She's like, we got to go. You got a doctor's appointment. At the middle of the movie.
It's a good one. There's something there. There's something there.
I remember when the great Vince Neil, what was the Outlaws?
No.
Remember the arena team?
He did the national anthem. He was drunk. He was drunk for the anthem.
Next level drunk.
He was swearing, too.
It was awful.
Yeah.
It was one of the worst I've sung the national. It was the worst rendition I've ever heard of it in my life.
Uh-huh.
That was the same thing where didn't they bring a whole bunch of kids out? They gave them free tickets. And then at the door they told the kids, sorry,
He's
we're
dropping
full.
F-bombs. The anthem, I know. He could have grabbed his crotch like Roseanne. You remember he owned the team. He goes, hey, if we win the game, he can drive my Lamborghini.
Yes.
He did that too. Oh, what a lunatic. The NBA blew it. They blew it this weekend for not being able to negotiate and come to terms with a Curry, Clark, or a Curry, Thompson, Clark, Sabrina, or a Curry, Sabrina Part 2? Do you concur?
No, I don't concur.
No.
I don't really care about those things too much. I actually, as somebody who's a hardcore NBA guy, like the All-Star break is I wash my hands of it. I don't watch much. I like the three-point competition. I like to bet on that. But outside of that, maybe a skills competition here and there. But
you don't like the...
I mean, it's fine.
You need something now.
Yeah.
People,
I mean, it's just...
no one does the dunk contest anymore.
Take the week off. Who cares? It's the same thing with all these sports. All these sports all-star games outside of baseball stink.
Yeah.
None of them participate. Who cares? They don't really play at the highest level that we know the sport can provide. I say take the time off. What they really screwed up was, congratulations. Everybody's finally paying attention. Super Bowl's over. Let's take the week off.
Yeah.
How do you not push the All-Star game maybe back
Ridiculous.
one more week?
Absolutely
This is your time
ridiculous.
to shine.
Totally agree. There it is. Do you concur? There's something that's a good angle. Walking out of a concert, or your parents did something.
Parents are forcing you out is a good one.
Parents forcing you something. Yeah, walk out of a movie. That's a tough move, man. Like, and how long do you give it? I mean, how long do you really say, boy, this is atrocious? I don't care. I bought snacks, soda, whatever. I'm done.
Right.
This movie's so bad. And then walking out of a concert is something too, because usually you're going to play for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Right. What's the moment that pushes you past the edge where you're just like, I'm out of here?
Right.
Can't
FTM at vsin.com. Tweet at us as well. Walking out of a concert or a movie.
If there's
or
a
even
kid
a play,
there, maybe
too.
that's a problem, too.
Didn't think we'd walk into Vince Neil stories. He's in the news again. That plane in Arizona that went down was his plane.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
He wasn't on it.
By the way, you could find the anthem we're talking about. You could find it.
It's up there?
Yeah, I'll find it and tweet it out. Yeah.
Oh, it's incredible. He called himself the first OJ. He killed someone drunk driving, and he did like 6 months in jail, and no one in the band visited him.
It's the first thing that pops up. I got it right here on YouTube. I'll tweet it out right now.
Are you serious?
Yep. Look at him. He's right there on the Outlaws logo. Look at him. He was terrible. We got Luke pull this. We can pull the audio on this thing. Come on, now. We got to play.
It's like the George Costanza curse toast.
Oh, it was terrible.
I mean, the guy comes out tanked up, and there's kids there, and he's dropping F-bombs doing the anthem. Oh man, that's phenomenal. You're gonna tweet it.
Top quote on the YouTube video. He's drunk. Will the guy ever get his life together? He was gone.
Yeah, he's a rock star. Never will. No, he's having a blast. Guy's worth a ton of cash too.
That's why.
Him and those guys.
I can't say I'd be
Tommy Lee. That was the story when I watched you. Tommy Lee was living in Malibu.
Can't say it'd be any different.
Fair. Very good. Wes Reynolds up next. A ton of college basketball picks coming up and MLB futures.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Do a little Daytona, a little NASCAR at the top of the hour. Fun show today, eclectic mix, and it's a big college basketball card tonight, which we'll get to in a second, and some marquee games Saturday with the great Wes Reynolds. He joins us now on the Progressive Guest Line. It's a weird start right now, what's going on at the Genesis. What do you think of the leaderboard and the low scores?
Yeah. Look, Paul, and good to be with you and John this afternoon. This course is playing a little bit different than it played 3 weeks ago when we were able to be aboard Harris English for the winter. It's a little less approach heavy and a little less scrambling. Scrambling's still going to be really important, but this is a big course at Torrey Pines, 7,800 yards, and you got some rain and some wind today too. So it's important to have that carry distance off the tee. You haven't had to really be like a big driver of the golf ball from a distance standpoint to win in the past, but it's helping you if you're able to do that today. But, just when you think maybe Scotty Scheffler's coming back to earth a little bit, because I even said on long shots this week that I preferred Rory McIlroy over Scotty in terms of the top two in the market, just because I think Rory drives the golf better still than Scotty. But Scotty Scheffler's still the best ball striker in the world, and he is tied a three-way tie at 3 under par, and right now plus 115 I'm looking at in play to go ahead and win the Genesis at Torrey this weekend.
Wes, are you looking, like when you're looking at adjusted odds and things going into the next round to potentially win this thing, what do you look for, and from what you've seen, that maybe would put you on a guy on an adjusted tournament price?
Yeah, more often than not, John, I look for guys that are really killing it on the iron play, because I think that always stays true. Putting has so much variance, especially when you're on these POA greens out in San Diego, because they're fast and they're really bumpy. These are not smooth greens. So all of a sudden you got a putt that looks like it's going dead in, hits a little bump, and then goes 3 feet by. So that's what you're going to have. So putting always has a lot of variance. So I tend to look at the strokes gained approach and the strokes gained ball striking and, who's right at the top there through 11 holes. And that's Scotty Scheffler gaining about 2.5 strokes on approach already for the round.
All right. Deep card, not the sexiest card, but college hoops tonight. Let's start with every ticket cash is the same. Doesn't matter. How about Sam Houston State against Jacksonville State?
Yeah, Paul, this is a very rare occurrence as we are now halfway through February. We're only 2 weeks from March. It's hard to believe, but It's a very rare occurrence in a conference game, this being Conference USA tonight, that you get the first place team is an underdog to the last place team. Jacksonville State, by the way, is 9-3 in Conference USA. They got a 2-game lead over Middle Tennessee State and Liberty. Liberty's probably the best team in the league when you really look at the power rating. And then you got a Sam Houston team that is 1-10 in conference play, but they've been losing all of these close games. They've all been by single digits. They've lost several in a row. They had a chance to beat Liberty on the road on Saturday and just couldn't get it done. And they've been really unlucky. In this 7-game losing streak. So I laid a little money line and $1.40 with Sam Houston State at home against Jacksonville State. It's just it's one of those things. I think they're a solid 3-point shooting team, Sam Houston State, about 37.5% clip, and they're at home. It's just it's almost like going with the gut. The numbers would say, hey, go with Jacksonville State. They're 9-3 versus a 1-10 team in conference play, but going with the gut here, and I think Sam Houston State is the right side, and I think the market is telling you such.
What about Memphis, Wes? I invoked the Temple game a few weeks ago, right? Maybe like a month ago. They went out to Temple on the road, 7.5-point favorites, lost the game outright. Eerily similar number on the road against South Florida here today.
Yeah, John, you're right. Memphis really, if you look at them, they're 10-1 in the league in the American. They're the best team by far, I think, in the American. I think Penny's got a good squad and an older squad too. Not a lot of freshmen on this team, but they really haven't been covering numbers. I think and I don't usually pay attention against the spread records very much, but they're 3-8 in conference play, and they haven't been able to get away laying big numbers against Temple, who you mentioned they played back at home in the return match on Sunday. No Jamal Mashburn Jr. for Temple, and Memphis really couldn't get away from them. They didn't cover double digits against Tulsa. They couldn't get away from Rice on the road. So they've had a lot of these close shaves, and now you're getting South Florida, and we know South Florida was a really good team last year. They ended up winning 25 games going to the NIT. They lost 3 starters, 1 to Louisville, 1 to Cincinnati, also 1 to Alabama. And then, of course, Amir Abdur-Rahim suddenly passes away about a week and a half before the season at a young age of 43. Ben Fletcher takes over as the interim. It's been a little bit of a lost season for USF. They're only 500. They're 12-12. But this is a game where I feel like, okay, they're going to bring the energy. They're going to get up for Memphis. Memphis is the best team in the conference. This is a chance to get maybe some accomplishment in what is a really lost season to maybe beat the best team in the league. So I took the points with USF.
This makes a lot of sense what you're doing here. Cal State Bakersfield first half. You have UC San Diego, good team off a huge win. Revenge, beating Irvine on the road. And now you think maybe they come out slower. Bakersfield's ready for them.
Yeah, you hit it, Paul. UCSD early in the year played Irvine at home, and that was kind of the old proverbial show 'em who's boss game, because Irvine has really been the best team in the Big West. I think they've won 4 of the last 6, 5 of the last 8 years, and UCSD put everything they did into that game and still lost to Irvine. Then they get the return match at the Bren Center on Saturday, and UCSD just went bonkers from the 3 in the second half. I think they hit about 16 threes. So you finally took down Irvine. You finally, the Johnny-come-lately, finally beat the top team in the conference. And you got a team, the Tritons. They're 20-4. They're a pretty good team. Them and Irvine are the clear 2 best teams in the Big West. But now you play in that atmosphere at Irvine where it was sold out on Saturday night. Now you got a Bakersfield where it might be a third full. They might have 1,000 people in the building total, in a building that's about 3,500. And Bakersfield's not very good. They're 10-15, but I think maybe you get a sleepy UCSD tonight. And 7.5, that's a lot in the first half. It's 13.5 for the full game. So you could, if you want to split half unit first half, half unit full game, I think that'd be a good way to go. But this just seems like a time where UCSD kind of like gets through it. And maybe they just don't have that max energy they had Saturday night and just kind of gets by here.
All right, what about the Terps? Ranked underdog on the road, though, against Nebraska. 1.5, 147.5 or thereabouts for side and total in favor of the Huskers. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I make the line where it is, John. I do lean Nebraska. It's that unranked favorite against ranked underdog. Not that that's automatic. Everybody knows about that for sure, but I went total here and under 147.5. The first game was 69-66, and Maryland hit 10 threes, and that's what I think Nebraska is going to try to make Maryland do. Nebraska, they front the post and they try to, not get beat off the dribble and help a little bit on the dribble. So they'll leave some open threes for a Maryland team that does shoot it at a good clip, about 37%, but they don't take a lot of threes. They only take about 35% of their shots in the three because they've got a potential lottery pick. And I know you pay attention to these mock drafts, John, and Derek Queen, who may end up getting in the lottery. He can really score in the post, and they're going to feed him. They're going to feed Julian Reese. I think you try to let Maryland's guards beat you from distance, and that's what Nebraska is going to try to do. And then Nebraska, it's going to be tough for them to beat those Maryland guards off the dribble. So I thought this total came a little bit high at 147.5. This is probably high 130s, low 140s for me.
Wes Reynolds, our guest on the Progressive Guest Line. Follow the money, Pauly and JVT VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Some big games Saturday, highlighted by number 1 against number 2. Any early thoughts on Bama Auburn?
Yeah, and I think really they have been the best two teams, and I wrote about them a little bit in our college basketball betting guide doing the SEC. Would probably lean Auburn. We don't have a line. I'm sure they're going to come at least a small dog, being that they're playing in Tuscaloosa on the road at the Coleman Coliseum. I like both these teams, and I think Alabama's been the hotter team of late. I think Auburn, chinks in the armor. They got handled at home last Saturday by Florida, and then had to pull away a little bit late in the final 10 minutes of the second half to get by Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt made a really good rally to tie that up. But, yeah, I would lean Auburn there, I think, in the spot. You got two teams that I think are probably going to end up being both number 1 seeds.
All right. Houston at Arizona, what do you make it? What would you do there?
Well, Houston defensively is as good as anybody, and I have them. I know they're rated number 6. I have them power rated number 2 just because their defensive numbers are so good. Now, they're a team you're going to worry about as you get in the mark because they play so hard defensively, and even though they shoot the 3 well, that team we've seen in the NCAA tournament, one night you go on a scoring drought and you're out. And that's what's happened to Houston the last couple of years when I think they've had Final Four good teams. But Arizona, all of a sudden, I think that they've really figured it out. Now that they moved Townsend, the Oakland transfer, to the bench, and they're starting those international kids at center, they've been a lot better, even though Kansas State got them. Kansas State, by the way, they're kind of a red-hot team in the Big 12 after they were a real mess. So they've won several in a row, so keep an eye on the Wildcats.
What about Purdue at home over Wisconsin?
Yeah, Purdue but kind of blew that game against Michigan.
Yep,
And credit to Michigan because they really fought it out. But, yeah, Purdue Michigan got the revenge. I think Wisconsin's been playing a little bit above their skis here, so I like the Boilermakers on Saturday.
Great job, my man. Good luck with the golf. Talk to you soon. Good luck with the picks.
You bet, fellas. Thanks for having me.
There you go. Wes Reynolds. Nebraska under, Bakersfield first half. A couple of his plays, and then the golf as well, what he had in Sam Houston. That is wild, the Sam Houston.
Right.
They're taking money, too, up to 2.5.
That steam's going to follow, too, when they see it.
Yeah, and you see that all the time with championship week. A team that swept in the regular season be favored in the third meeting as well. We'll turn our attention to the Daytona 500 up next. Talk a little NASCAR with Nick Giffen, giving out some picks as well. A plethora of picks coming up, and there are a lot of long shots coming up on VSiN. Follow the money. Sirius XM Channel 158, live from Circa. Viva Las Vegas.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Apologies, jumped the gun. NASCAR coming up next.
You're excited.
I am. I can't wait. So we get to college hoops we just talked about with Wes, but short NBA card as we head into the break. Number 1, this OKC game decides the prop. Who will have the most wins at the All-Star break? Remember, Cleveland was a good-sized favorite because they were so good to start the season. OKC is the leader. If they win tonight, then they're up to 9-point favorites against Minnesota. They cash. If they lose, check the rules, they would tie with Cleveland, depending on where you bet that at the book. So that decides that tonight. And OKC up to 9 and 225.5. As you said earlier, impervious to bad spots. Nothing can stop this team. Yep. And what they're doing, cashing these big tickets as big favorites as well. And a pathetic performance by Minnesota last night to lose at home to Milwaukee. as a 9-point favorite, and now last check, Gobert and Ant were questionable, and OKC maybe got, 9-point favorites on the road. What do you think?
Against a team that was in the Western Conference Finals last year. It's nuts. This one specifically, I mean, look, if Edwards is going to play, Gobert's questionable too. I mean, I just don't really trust this team. How could you? You mentioned the last game. Go to the game before. Complete no-show in Cleveland.
Yep.
You're supposed to be a team that can compete with these teams to win an NBA Finals. You have absolutely nothing at a team. Ant goes off, but nobody else gives you anything. So I don't know if I could trust them at all, given their current form. Yeah, they've only lost 2 straight, but it's been 2 abysmal, embarrassing losses right on the verge of the All-Star break. Seems pretty clear like it's a team that is very much looking forward to having some time off. Minnesota.
I would say they could get whatever they wanted offensively, too.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't see Minnesota slowing them down.
Especially if Gobert's not going to be out there. I mean, you're talking about a team that I think is going to be pretty challenged to stop OKC here. And like you said, impervious to spots are kind of always focused for the moment. This doesn't look like a team that's looking ahead of the All-Star break.
I don't know what it is. I know the trade hasn't worked out, but whether it's the team's going to be sold, the votes coming up with Taylor and A-Rod and Laurie, but this is just, you were so good last year and almost made the NBA Finals. And now nothing's worked out, and it seems there's no chemistry on this team either, and even what Ant's doing. The other angle is MVP. The straw poll comes out tomorrow on the Brian Windhorst, Tim Bontemps article, but the Hoop Collective podcast. You're seeing SGA $6 most spots.
Yep.
What's your angle here with the straw poll being released tomorrow, and you recommend taking Joker right now plus 450 in that range MVP?
Yeah, I took a little bit today. Again, he had a 24-vote lead in first place votes in the first straw poll. There's been nothing that has changed for his play. He has not missed time. He has not been hurt. His play has not fallen off. Why would Shea then usurp him with those many votes between now and then? If you thought that Jokic was the best player in the association at the end of December, why would you now in the middle of February change your mind? He's a half game out of the 2 seed with a roster that has been abysmal, and they're awful on defense.
Yep.
He's been dragging them to the finish line almost every single night.
The on-off numbers.
The on-off numbers are better than what Shea has. And that's part of the reason is because Shea, of course, plays with a better team, but that's part of this, man. He's the most valuable player. If Jokic is not playing for Denver, we're talking about them competing for a lottery pick. And instead, they're on the verge of maybe grabbing a 2 seed here. So if all those voters thought that gap was there in December, why would that be reversed to the point where Shea is, again, even if I don't think Jokic is going to be in the lead, whatever, to be minus 600 in this market, considering he was so far behind Jokic in the last time we had an idea of what these voters were thinking, I just don't buy that at all.
You want to use that, or you want to use Rockets? What do you want to do?
Oh, yeah, you could do both. Yeah, so I added Jokic a 4-1 to win MVP. Okay. You can find like 425. Also, I laid 1.5 with the Houston Rockets. I felt like a genius. Last night, laid 1.5. It was up to 6.5 today. Felt brilliant. But no, I think to me, we talked about this yesterday. This is a similar thought with that Celtics game we were talking about yesterday, right? Late 8 with Celtics because I thought just from a number standpoint, market was getting a little too high here on the San Antonio Spurs. Today, here again, Houston Rockets laying 2, even without Fred VanVleet. I'll take my chances. Markets right now, Paul, at 1.5-2 is telling you the Golden State rates out to be a slightly better team on a neutral court. I don't buy that, even with some of the absences that Houston is taking. I think it's a short number here. Laid it for a reason on the overnight. Laid 1.5. That's still plenty out there. I'll use Houston as well tonight.
All right, Best Bets brought to you by G-Bank, official bank of VEASAN. They're upping the ante with a $750 bonus for a new G-Bank Visa signature card for customers. New customers who spend $1,000 on eligible purchases within 90 days from account opening receive a $250 bonus. And if you spend $50,000 on gaming and sports app loads within the 30 days of account opening, you get another $500 bonus. So a $750 bonus. Apply now. VEASAN.com/GBank. VEASAN.com/GBank. Terms and conditions apply, subject to credit approval. I thought for sure they would sit some of these vets, but apparently they're going to give it a go, and you see the number coming down. And Clippers taking money up to 9.5, 228.5 at Utah. Jazz with the big win last night. Clarkson out. Coffee questionable. Kawhi out. I like Powell over points. 23.5 tonight, and he's on a 30-14 overrun. You get that every day. Check it out, VEASAN.com with the prop analyzer. As we'll see if the Clippers had no problems in the second half blowing them out in the last game at home. So we'll see if they get whatever they want offensively here.
Miami-Dallas is going to be pretty interesting, too, because Miami's dealing with this flu. They get blown out in the fourth quarter in part because they have the stomach bug going through the locker room. Now they're on the second leg of a back-to-back taking on Dallas, but Clay and Kyrie are questionable after a tough one against Golden State, but they need every win possible. I would assume that you're going to put everybody out there here today right before the All-Star break, but I think Dallas is going to be pretty live. You tell me now that Clay and Kyrie are playing, to me it would be Dallas. I don't think there's any question about sidewise there.
Yep.
So we'll see if it's going to happen. And I'm with you. Thought the Golden State was going to let rest their guys, but this one's more interesting with Miami and Dallas. By the way, Bam's questionable, so we'll see if that's going to be an absence they have to deal with too.
And back-to-back again, Sacramento and New Orleans. No Zion conditioning. Sac 8.5, 235.5 the total against the Pelicans.
I don't like the Sac team, but man, you try to catch that knife with New Orleans, you've been getting cut every single time. They've been terrible. I thought yesterday too it was a good spot where I'd circle. I was like, that's a lot of points. McCollum looked like he was going to play. Everything's going to be fine. Nope. They end up letting go of the rope. They can't stay inside of the number. Now here you are catching 8.5. Maybe it's a little too high. Sac's a terrible defensive team. They're not going to improve. Maybe by default you stay inside of this big number, but you can't keep trying to catch that garbage truck with New Orleans.
It's 10 in a row?
Yeah.
They've lost 10 in a row? Oh. How about the biggest winner, other than the Lakers, of the deadline, Ingram?
Well, Ingram,
he got out of town and he got a contract with Toronto.
He gets a contract. Because you're not going to get any free agents, so you're going to throw some money at a guy like Brandon Ingram because he's on the roster. Yeah. The other big winner is obviously Kyrie Irving, who gets all of the leverage in the world to now tell Dallas, pay up, let's go.
Yeah, I know.
The other thing that was pointed out, I don't know if you noticed this on social media the other day, Kyrie did change the color theme of his Twitter account, Paul.
In the meaning?
Purple and gold.
Oh, boy. Here we go with this. Okay.
They did, dude. I'm telling you, he probably is going to stick around, but it would be surprised if he tried to do a couple of things here. Again, he's got all the leverage in the world.
Yeah. Quickly, college hoops. I think the Dallas Mavericks' power rating's off, and I think Gonzaga's power rating's off. They're playing the second-place team in the West Coast tonight, and they're laying 14.5.
Sure.
The Dons are good, and they just beat St. Mary's. And Gonzaga, they lost as a big favorites to Santa Clara. They were laying a big number at Oregon State and got beat. I don't see it. The other thing I can't believe is ESPN.com has them a lock to make the tournament. Yeah. They're on the 8-9 line right now.
I don't think you're doing anything wrong here. There's you mentioned a couple of examples there. The two consecutive losses, Oregon State, Santa Clara. Remember, they were road favorites against St. Mary's. They lose that game, right. 62-58 on Luka Doncic night. I'll take you back even further. Remember, in non-con in December, they went out to the Garden to take on UConn. They were favored on the road there against UConn. They lost that game outright, 77-71. So market's been, if you're watching on VSiN.com, you see the ATS record. Market's been way too high on this team.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Don't fault you at all.
And I'm gonna dip my toe into the water here. I'm taking UCLA women tonight. What do you think? Number one team in the country.
I'll trust you.
Number one team in the country. 22 of the 23 wins are by double digits, and they're laying one at USC.
I believe in it. I got nothing.
Doesn't that seem odd though?
It would be one of those.
I know USC's a top 10 team, but
it's one of those, as some would call it, the fishy line. Why are they only laying two?
Yeah, burying people.
They're killing everybody, as we were just talking about, right? Last place team favored in a spot like that. Why is that?
Yeah, you might be right. Maybe I get it handed to me, but we'll see. That's a good one tonight. UCLA with the USC with the
late
women.
window is not great.
Yeah, true.
Outside of Gonzaga and San Fran.
Yeah. And there's only one national TV game with the NBA as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, up next, as promised now, we'll talk to Nick, get his thoughts on NASCAR and the Daytona 500. He's got a lot of picks and some long shots here and creative stuff as well. And you go back and look at the last couple of years, 20-1, 33-1, 33-1, 100-1. We'll see if that happens again. We'll get to his picks. Also, we'll get back to MLB futures as the Red Sox made a big move yesterday. I think this is a playoff team. Over the win total, make the playoffs, and we'll run down some MLB futures as well. All that straight ahead. Follow the money, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.